What if I told you that Australia once declared war on emus and lost? Yes, you heard right. Emus, those flightless, long-legged birds native to Australia. In the early 1930s, amid the backdrop of the Great Depression, Australia was embroiled in an unlikely conflict against these avian adversaries. It was a war like no other, with soldiers and machine guns pitted against a flock of emus. Intrigued? Now that I have your attention, let's unravel this bizarre chapter of history. Picture this, it's 1932 in Western Australia. The world is still nursing the wounds of the Great War, and Australia, not untouched, is also grappling with the throes of the Great Depression. Jobs are as scarce as water in the outback, and the economy is about as stable as a kangaroo on a unicycle. Many of the brave souls who fought for their nation in the war have returned home, only to find that the battle for survival has simply changed fronts. From trenches to fields, these veterans have swapped their rifles for plows, becoming farmers in the vast, unforgiving wheat belt of Western Australia. They're battling harsh weather, tough soil, and the relentless challenge of making ends meet. But in the midst of all these trials, unbeknownst to our hardworking veterans, a new enemy was looming on the horizon. And this enemy wasn't armed with bullets or bayonets. Oh no, this enemy was feathered. But to these hardworking veterans, a new feathered enemy was about to present itself. Enter the emus, large flightless birds with an appetite for wheat. These feathered fiends, native to Australia, are not your average backyard birds. Picture a 6-foot-tall bird faster than Usain Bolt and with a belly that seems to have its own postcode migrating en masse to the wheat belt. Their arrival spelled disaster for the already struggling farmers. Like a feathered locust swarm, the emus descended upon the wheat fields. It was an all-you-can-eat buffet, and boy, did they dine. Acres of crops, the farmers' blood, sweat, and tears were devoured in the blink of an eye. Farmers fought back with everything they had, but it was like trying to stop a tide with a tea strainer. The emus, it seemed, were invincible, impervious to the desperate attempts of the farmers to control them. With their livelihoods at stake, the farmers had no choice but to ask for help. And so, the Australian government did what any reasonable government would do. They sent in the military. Now, you might wonder, how does one wage war against a bird? Well, my friends, the answer is with a fair bit of difficulty. The government, in its infinite wisdom, dispatched a team of 2. Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery and his trusty sidekicks Sergeant S. McMurray and Gunner J. O'Halloran. Armed with a couple of Lewis guns and a bounty of ammunition, they set out to tackle the emu menace. Their strategy? Simple, really. Just locate the emus, line up the shot, and let the bullets fly. It was supposed to be a straightforward mission. But as they say, the best laid plans of mice and men, and in this case, emus, often go awry. With guns loaded and spirits high, the Great Emu War had officially begun. But as the soldiers soon found out, emus are not your average enemy. These feathered foes were far from the traditional adversaries they had faced. Emus, as it turns out, are a particularly hardy breed. Their astonishing resilience was first noted when the soldiers' initial volley of bullets seemed to have little to no effect. The emus appeared to shake off the assault, dusting themselves off like they'd just been caught in a mild rain shower rather than a barrage of bullets. As the soldiers continued their campaign, they faced a multitude of unexpected challenges. The emus were not only surprisingly robust, but they were also incredibly elusive. They could scatter quickly, disappearing into the vastness of the Australian outback faster than a kangaroo on a pogo stick. The soldiers found themselves playing a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek with the feathered invaders. It wasn't just the emus' physical prowess that caught the soldiers off guard. Their strategic acumen was also a shock. They would often send out scouts, smaller groups of emus that would draw the soldiers' fire, thereby exposing the position of the troops and allowing the main flock to escape unscathed. Despite their best efforts, the soldiers found themselves outmaneuvered and outmatched at every turn. The emus, with their unexpected grit and guile, were not only surviving the conflict but seemed to be winning. And that, my friends, is how a group of birds nearly defeated an entire army. Despite their best efforts, the emus seemed to be winning. Meanwhile, back home, Australians were having a field day. The Great Emu War was not just a battle in the bush. It was also a spectacle that had the entire nation enthralled. The media, in its typical fashion, was quick to jump on the story, churning out headlines that ranged from the dramatic to the downright hilarious. You see, for the average Joe on the street, the idea of the military battling birds was a source of endless amusement. Cartoons depicted emus in helmets charging at befuddled soldiers, while satirical pieces suggested medals for the most elusive emus. The soldiers might have been fighting a war, but the public was having a laugh. Yet beneath the humor, there was also a touch of disbelief, a dash of embarrassment. Here was Australia, a mighty nation, struggling to control a bunch of birds. The international media picked up on the story, and the chuckles echoed around the globe. With the world watching and laughing, something had to give. In the end, it wasn't the emus that surrendered, but the Australian military. They withdrew, leaving behind a battlefield scattered with feathers and a sense of bewilderment. The emus had won, at least for the time being. But the story didn't end there. The government, still grappling with the feathery fiasco, decided on a different approach. They introduced a bounty system. For every emu beak brought in, a reward was given. This incentivized the locals to take up arms against the emus, becoming a more effective solution than the military campaign. And what of the legacy of this peculiar war? Well, it became a humorous footnote in Australia's history, with the emus earning a reputation as the country's most resilient invaders. The tale is told with a chuckle, a testament to the time when Australia waged a war against birds and lost. And so, the Great Emu War came to its anticlimactic end. Today, the Great Emu War is remembered not as a military triumph but as a lesson in humility. This peculiar slice of history serves as a poignant reminder of the unpredictable dance between mankind and Mother Nature. It's a tale that shows us no matter how mighty we may believe ourselves to be, sometimes the emus win. It highlights the importance of coexistence and respect for all creatures, great and small. And to the emus, it was just another day in Australia,